In Billy the Kid, The Life Behind the Legend, George Matthews joins a long list of William H. Bonney biographers, all of whom believed that they had something new to communicate, or are suitably fit to present the same story in a way that is more accessible to new generations. Since the kid's history has already been so ably written about by many other writers, there is always the expectation that a new author must present some angle or justification for doing so once again. Matthews's book offers, from the description, quote, fresh perspectives. Readers are told that the whole person of Billy emerges for the first time, the end result being an authoritative and provocative portrait. The book fails to make good on any of these claims. Matthews is a capable writer and is able to relate history, but at no time will the reader feel that this book was a necessary addition to the kid's history. Most of the footnotes and sources given in the book appeal to earlier works about the kid. So often are the phrases quoted in Nolan or quoted in Utley found that one begins to wonder why they're not reading Nolan, Utley, and others in the first place. Nothing of Billy's personality comes through at all. Billy seems almost more of an incidental character in this history, showing up without warmth or humanity, and then disappearing from the scene once more as the surrounding history goes on. Half of a source is given authority, while the other half is discarded. For example, Matthews relates the foot race between Billy and Dr. Hoyt in Tascosa, yet for some reason doubts the second half of Hoyt's story, relegating the story of the other regulators pulling their guns to a footnote. The real issue, however, is how frequently Matthews gets history wrong. If this work were merely an abbreviated rehash, there would be no problem with an inquirer picking up this book to learn the trade. But there is so much bad history paraded as fact that this book cannot be recommended either to newcomers or seasoned fans of Western history. Consider Matthews' theories of Henry McCarty's origins. Matthews contends that a young girl named Catherine McCarty, who arrived in New York on a ship called the Devonshire in 1846, is the future mother of Billy the Kid. His only reasoning for this assumption is that Billy's mother was the same age as this Devonshire Catherine. In similar fashion, Matthews concludes that McCarty was Catherine's maiden name and claims she was a Presbyterian from a financially well-off family in the Ulster province of Ireland. He then informs the reader that the McCarty children were born out of wedlock and that their mother fabricated a deceased husband in order to be a Civil War widow. Even though no pension record exists for Catherine McCarty claiming funds for a dead husband named Michael, Matthews claims that Henry and his brother Joe were both born in Indiana, against the testimony of people who claimed to know from the kid himself that he was born in New York. William Antrim's testimony that Catherine had a deceased husband who had died in New York City, and multiple census records where Joe Antrim, Billy's brother, consistently claimed that he was born in New York. Matthews constructs this entire narrative, Catherine arriving in New York, taking passage down the Erie Canal, settling in Indiana, having scandalous affairs with multiple men, and having Billy and Joe out of wedlock, fabricating a dead husband to get Civil War widow benefits, and sending Billy and Joe to public school in Indianapolis, all with absolutely zero sources to establish these facts. Surrounding these claims, however, are voluminous instances of sourced contextual history, an almost 5-page description of the history of Santa Fe and its stage line, the particulars of Abraham Lincoln's public funeral procession, the history of forts in New Mexico, all meticulously researched and sourced. Matthew's book is full of presumptive phrases, Billy must have felt this way. The family would have taken that route. Middleton probably wrote this letter. The man in the photo is likely Middleton and not Henry Brown. Probably. Would have. Perhaps. And likely. All light up Matthew's narrative like stars in a night sky. Because of demonstrably bad history throughout, Matthew's book simply cannot be endorsed in any way as being authoritative or presenting the whole person of Billy Bonney. With so many great books on Billy the Kid in the last decades, Matthew's book is a step backward into historical confusion.